had the realization that maybe I was too rigid with practicing. Okay. I'm here outside the basketball court at the yeshiva that I'm currently studying at, and I've been reflecting on what brought me here. And had some experiences recently in my life that really made me dive inward and question what's been going on. And start with how over the past few years I've been practicing meditation. And for those who have practiced and learned about meditation, there's worlds of benefit and things that you can do with it. And you really learn to become present, and you can, in being present, you can observe the different thoughts and feelings that come up. You can share links to the retreats that I've been on or articles I've written about retreats I went to. But in being present, you can observe the different thoughts that arise around different things. Let's say you have a habit. You can observe with some practice the thoughts that arise that lead to this certain type of behavior. And so the more you able to separate or zoom out, so to speak, from a thought, let's say an insecure thought, a frustration or something of that sort, whatever the kind of limiting thought or behavior that no longer serves you, it doesn't lead to an empowering behavior, you can begin to unwire it neurologically, and therefore, through a process, change how one expresses itself and practice a new character, or practice a certain character trait, and no longer exercise a character trait that somebody no longer wants to do. And you also, one of those being, when you become more present and you're no longer worrying about something in the past or something that may happen in the future, you begin to learn to surrender and have more trust. In Hebrew, the word is bitachon. And throughout my practice, I would get to these different, let's say, layers where I wouldn't be able to let go or surrender. My mind would get so active. And normally that's part of the process of when you're like coming to at the end of a certain type of limiting belief, that in a sense, that thought, because it's been wired in the brain, conditioned for however long, does whatever it can to keep you in the familiar place, to continue acting and thinking that type of way. But I would get to these periods that my mind just wouldn't relax, no matter how long I sat in meditation, in just silence or whatever. It would keep ruminating about certain things, and those being related to Judaism and Orthodox Judaism, such as keeping kosher. Like, why did I have to keep kosher? I remember thinking, like, maybe it's just in my mind, or wearing a yarmulke, or then later wearing tzitzis, the strings. And I would get to this period, like in meditation, my mind would just be active on it, and I would, do what I've learned to allow the thoughts to kind of settle down, and I would get to the root of it. Because if you trace a thought with just observing it and practice equanimity, or in Hebrew called hishtavus, you can see where the thought is ultimately coming from. But it wouldn't relax until I remember, for those different these articles of clothing, per se, my mind would be like, well, it's just an article of clothing, it's just a physical thing. Like, sure, yeah, I like expressing that I'm Jewish, but why do I need to wear it when I sleep, or why do I need to wear it when I meditate? But my mind wouldn't relax until I would put it on. I'd be like, I just let go, and I would wear it even when I meditated, and then I would be able to let go. And similarly with kosher food. And I would observe what the thoughts I have that arise before I would eat non-kosher food, for example, before I kept kosher. And I thought it was crazy, because maybe it's just, these automatic negative thoughts are coming up. But I would also observe how I would feel after I would eat it, and it wasn't so pleasant, and it wasn't just in the mind. And as of recent, until I decided to return to the yeshiva to continue learning and all this other creative stuff, an event happened in my life that really made me realize that in a lot of things that I've been doing, whether it's videos or podcasts or writing books that I've talked about, or coaching or studying, I would get to a certain point where it was like I was at the finish line, so to speak, but I couldn't just like cross. It was like everything was awesome, like, but there was some aspect of was missing. And in my latest social post, I wrote about how coming here isn't just 99% home or aligned, but that I wanted that 100%. There wasn't leading to complete action. And an event happened that made me really question, like, what's been keeping me from, going over jumping per se. And I thought maybe it's just fear, so therefore I would sit with it and meditate and get beyond the thought, like I had with the kippah, the kosher food, and wearing the tzitzis, the garment. But it wasn't the case. There was, in a sense, I got to a point where I asked the question, how's my relationship with God 99% there, but that 1% is missing, that it's not complete wholeness. And I recognized and I wrote about this in my newsletters past 2 weeks or so, or the past 2 issues, that I woke up one morning because I would practice, my meditation practice has evolved over the years from when I went to a silent retreat to practicing Joe Dispenza's and doing his breath work. And I recognized that the one thing that maybe wasn't so 100% aligned with who I truly am and with Torah and with Judaism was that practice. And I would wake up and I would have these kind of thoughts similar to like those other things I mentioned, but I would have these like what Baal Shem Tov calls alien thoughts of sorts, where like I had these concerns and worries that God forbid I would be doing idol worship. But it was I thought it was just strange thoughts because there's God, why would there's no idols? But perhaps sometimes we idolize ourselves and thinking that we always know best, and even there is value to being able to listen to yourself, but we have to be able to learn that balance. What I ended up doing was that morning I woke up and had the realization that maybe I was too rigid with practicing those Dispenza's meditation and the breath work, and maybe it wasn't 100% aligned truly for who I am and with being Jewish. And so I stopped doing it, and none of those thoughts have arose. And that helped me realize that I had that why those with other things weren't leading to action, because it was nearly 100% whole and true and aligned with the truth with a capital T, but it wasn't 100%. And that realization got me to refine that practice, and I no longer practice those, and now it's used only in the best way. It's refined as a tool, not to get me to where I am, but now I use it to get me to where I want to go.